It's October 29th, 2023. This is Andrew in Omaha, and I just finished up this tote made out of this oil tan leather. Got this stuff on sale from Maker's Leather Supply. When I unrolled it, I was pleasantly surprised because there was a big old brand left on the hide from the rancher, whoever raised that cow. And I haven't gotten a brand on a side of leather in a long time. Last time I got a brand was a couple years ago. I got it on a side of harness leather from Springfield Leather, and it was really cool. And I cut it out specifically because I was going to hang on to it and possibly put it on a project, and I lost it. I have tore my garage apart. I tore the basement apart looking for that piece. It had to have been thrown away. So this is the pattern provided by Maker's Leather Supply. It's no secret, you know, I bought this as a kit. It came last month or the month before, I don't remember, but they sent this out with all the pieces to make it, and you know, that's how I get better at leathercraft. Sometimes I'll buy kits, I'll buy patterns that are made by various companies, and then I will modify them, put my own spin on it. In this case, I decided to make another tote. I made this one. This is the one from the kit. Has a really nice interior, little pocket here. I didn't put a pocket on this one. My wife said she wanted the handles a little bit longer, so I believe these handles are 30 inches long. And so I made the ones on this one 40 inches, a little longer, and she liked that a lot more. But it was a good look at it. I also use these copper rivets, and I use this rivet setter I got from Buckle Guy. Somebody recommended it on the video that I made before, where I said I wanted to get a rivet setter that would just make the top of the rivet look like kind of like a pair of Levi jeans. And somebody recommended this rivet setter from Buckle Guy, and it works awesome. It domes the top of the rivet just perfect. I don't know if you can see that very well, but I really like it, and I decided to have the dome portion of the rivet facing out on this project. And I got this one from Joann's. It's just a basic zipper. I'm also going to be utilizing my Cobra MP4 bell skiver. These areas right here are where the edges were skived down, so they're not as thick and heavy when you're putting it together, especially down here when you're putting this together. Usually, I've made these types of totes before. I like to skip putting this seam in on these. I'll just make it one giant piece of leather, so I don't have to fight this seam when I'm turning the bag out, or also when I'm trying to stitch this seam together. I only have to deal with the seam running down, up and down the sides of the bag, and running along the bottom edge. Here's a much smaller tote I made a while ago out of one piece. You can see it doesn't have that seam down the center here. It just has the seam coming down the side of the bag and along the edge. So the reason this project is going to have that seam going down the bottom of the bag, and it's not just going to be one piece like I like to usually do it, is because of the brand. Its positioning where it's at on the hide. I have to, if I want the letters and the number for that brand to be in the middle of the tote and upright, it just, where it ended up being, I'd have to put the pattern like you see there in order to position the brand correctly. I can't make it a long way, otherwise the letters from that brand would not be upright. Then I'm going to lay out the pattern. It's got the holes where they need to be. I'll end up punching those out with my little Tandy hole punch, and I also have a Tandy strap hole punch. It's 1 inch long. I've had it for a long time, and it works really good on this oil tan leather and English bridle leather. I do have issues with trying to get it to punch through veg tan leather. It's a little too tough for it, but it works really well for this oil tan. I just got this framing square. I use it all the time. Works great to make sure everything is squared up. And then I'm using a craft tool knife from Tandy also to cut out all the little notches. This whole bag is really pretty simple to put together. I highly recommend them if you want a very beginner, simple leather craft project. I'd recommend these totes. They're not that difficult to make. And you do not need machines to put these together. You can easily sew them together by hand. Now I'm going to be using my Cobra MP4 bell skiver to skive the edges on it. This is my newest acquisition in the machines I have, and it's great. When I first got the machine, it was just beautiful. It just skived things beautifully. I did go through. I'm going through a learning curve with it, and I went through the first round of sharpening the blade using the sharpening procedure, and ever since then I've been struggling to get the thing to skive correctly. It likes to bind up, and it'll actually lock up the skiving bell as I'm running it through. And I've gone back through the sharpening procedure several times, and I know it's user error. I'm just going to have to contact the leather machine company and have them walk me through of how to correct the problem. But when you can skive the edges down on these tote bags, it makes it so much easier to stitch them together. You're not going to have those big bulky seams that are left if the edges were thinned down. I did not use any glue on this bag. I just used this two-sided sticky tape. I know I got this from Maker's Leather Supply. I know several companies carry this, and it doesn't want to stick the greatest to oil tan leather, but it will stick. You just kind of have to press it down with a scratch-all to get it started, and once you do that, it'll stick okay, and it sticks enough to hold the pieces together to be stitched up. The sewing machine I'm using is a Leather Machine Company Cobra Class 20 flatbed sewing machine, and I'm using a number 138 nylon thread. Lassie decided to bed down behind me, so she's sporting a collar that I made her out of natural vegetable tan leather, and I didn't use any type of finish on that collar, and it's just absorbing all sorts of just anything it touches, and it's turning it this really beautiful color. Here comes Chuck. He's got a leather collar too. I made him. He doesn't have it on for some reason, and he needs attention too. This is the most difficult part of these tote builds, and that's doing the bottom end seams, because you have to hold the seam flat and get it underneath the foot of the machine without pulling on the needle and causing it to break. And I've done this a couple times, and I know how to get this machine to stitch this down. Probably be a little bit easier if I had a cylinder bed machine. But my flatbed Cobra Class 20 will do the job, and it works just fine. So it just takes a little finesse and some finagling to get it to stitch that bottom end seam down. And I'll repeat the same process on the other side. Now this is going to be the second most difficult thing to do with these totes, and that's the turnout. Now depending on how thick the leather is will dictate how difficult it is to turn the bag right side out, because you build it inside out so you have access to the seams to stitch them together, but then when it comes time for the finished product you have to turn it right side out, which is what I'm doing now. And if the temperament and the thickness of the leather is quite thick and it's quite strong, it's going to be tough to turn out. This leather is of a medium temperament, and it was quite, I mean, not horribly difficult. I had to manhandle this to get it to turn right side out, but this is also the point in the build when you find out if your seams are lined up, if where you stitched them together, if they're going to look fine and you're not going to see any gaps. And this one turned out good. The gaps are all closed up. So the only thing I have left to do now is to put the handles on. I take that back. I have to put the end tabs on the zipper. And I'm going to have to use the reverse lever halfway around these tabs because I cannot stuff that entire bag through the middle of the machine. So I am hand wheeling the needle through the metal part of the zipper. If I feel any type of resistance whatsoever, I stop. That's why I don't use the motor to push it through, because I do not want to smash that needle down onto metal. And then when I get halfway through, I just hit down the reverse lever and slowly back around the second portion of this little tab. And if you take your time and real careful, it'll turn out looking good. And then I'm just going to go over my first couple stitches there to lock it in, and I'm done. I'm going to repeat the same process on the other side. Now I'm going to cut out these 40-inch straps using my strap cutter from the strap cutting machine company. It's called the Strap Cutter, the original one from the Leatherworks Products Company out of Stockton, California. I love this strap cutter. Works great. Works so much better than the Tandy one I had. I highly recommend it. And now it's time to measure out the 40-inch straps. My end strap punch these are just like the cheapest punches. They're available on Amazon and they work awesome. I'm so glad I did not shell out a ton of cash for expensive strap end cutters when these guys were available on Amazon. They're sharp. They've stayed sharp I probably had them for about 2 years now, and yeah, they're great. And then there's my little Tandy hole punch. I'm going to feed the ends of the strap through the 1-inch strap holes, and then put the rivets through the rivet holes, and I'll rivet those down. I got a little railroad rail anvil that I'm using, and you're going to get to see here me using that rivet setter from Buckle Guy that just does such a great job of doming the rivets and making them look nice. I used to just smash them down with that same ball peen hammer, and they never looked good. They looked all smashed up, and it wasn't anything that I wanted to give a customer. But I just used the channel locks to clip off the ends there, and then that little domer right there, it just does a great job. I'm really happy with it. So that's going to be the conclusion of this build. It's got the brand on the side of the bag. I think it looks really neat, really unique. You'll never be able to duplicate it. Be interesting to find the farm that cow came off of to see who that brand belongs to. But anyway, this is Andrew in Omaha, Nebraska, and I hope you have a nice day.